Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Kneon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And Hollywood is on fire.
Yeah, it's not good.
This is not good, guys. We're going to do an update to a video we did yesterday talking about how Regal is shutting down all their theaters for now because they're like, there's no new movies. So why bother?
Right.
But it gets worse. After we did that video, several other movies have been pushed back until next year or the year after that.
Right.
Or the year after that.
So right after the Hollywood Reporter says that studios might need to take a hit to help the theaters.
Yes.
Then they turned around and shifted all their movies to further dates. So they're not going to take a hit to help the theaters.
They don't care. But I'm like, how long can these theaters hold out without putting these movies out? They might have to release some of these video on demand just to recoup some of their money. They're going to have to do something to recoup their costs. Right. So we're going to talk about the movies that got pushed back. We're going to talk about the stock dropping on movie theaters. We're going to talk about AMC and how they might only have 6 months of capital left before they go out of business, even though they're saying they're not closing. And we're going to talk about how Hollywood wants a bailout from the government.
I think the theaters need a bailout before Hollywood does.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about all of that, the Hollywood bailout, the movie delays. Please subscribe if you have not done so already. We're getting more people saying they're subscribed, they've rung the bell, but they're not getting notified.
Oh, really? Surprise, surprise.
Really now. So this does seem to be a thing with YouTube. So,
well, in the world of extremes, being in the middle is a dangerous thing.
It is, because we're like the Joker. We're like free agents.
That everybody hates you.
Everybody hates us. Speaking of the Joker, we're going to talk about Batman. Batman is moving to March 2022.
Wow.
Dune is being pushed back. It's supposed to come out this Thanksgiving, I think.
Yeah.
It's being pushed back to next October. But then The Matrix is supposed to come out next Christmas, and I didn't even know they were even filming it yet.
I knew they were filming it, but I didn't know when it was coming out.
So Warner Brothers is moving Matt Reeves' comic book tentpole The Batman to March 4th, 2022. This is after Dune went from December 18th to October 1st of next year. That October 2021 date was set for The Batman prior.
Right. This is what they do. Disney does it all the time, too. If they move one movie, they have to shift their entire release schedule for a lot of other things to make up for it. Right.
So, let's see. Warner Brothers originally planned to open Batman on June 25th, 2021, but the pandemic bumped the release to the 1st of October. Other Warner Brothers release date changes include The Matrix 4, moving from, now this is weird, April 1st, 2022 to December 2021.
Maybe it's further along. It could be about how far along they are also, because that's going to be a movie that's a lot of it's done in CG and special effects, and they might not, they can work on that even when they're shut down, kind of thing. So maybe they might be ahead. Yeah.
Maybe. The Flash is jumping from June 2022 to November. Shazam 2 is moving to 2023. The Christmas release for Wonder Woman 84 stands for now, but I've heard that could change too. That they might they might push Wonder Woman back till next year. I saw on Twitter that the Wonder Woman toys are already on clearance.
Right, because they came out. We thought with Doritos and all the tie-ins were out, and they didn't have the movie out, but everything else came out. And Wonder Woman's one thing I wanted to watch this year. It's one bright spot I had, so I'm sure that's going to be shifted.
Then we got Ghostbusters coming out sometime next year, supposedly. That's assuming that this is going to be over. That's assuming that theaters are going to be, operational. That's assuming these theaters are going to be in business.
Well, that's why Ryan Reynolds and the cast of The Fall Guy were making the joke yesterday with their video that it could be out, this date, or it might be out, Valentine's Day, or it could be Halloween some year or whatever, because they were doing all these joke announcements because they don't know when the hell it's going to get released. They keep pushing things back.
Yeah, and this is going to be cataclysmic. Again, I want to reiterate, just because even if the pandemic stopped tomorrow, right, and everybody reopened, the damage has been done. And we're going to see layoffs and setbacks and cancellations and whatever in Hollywood probably for the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years.
Well, it gets me as everybody's talking about the theaters and how, Hollywood should take a hit to the theaters and get the movies and things. What about people that are trapped in their houses or they need entertainment? Why can't Hollywood take a hit and put them on VOD or something for a few movies just to get people through, as opposed to just pushing them back? Because there's not going to be theaters left at that point, most likely. Anyways, what difference does it make?
That's what I'm trying to figure out, because, look, Hollywood, duh, it's never going to go back to what it was before. You're not going to have these billion-dollar tentpole movies anymore because, a lot of these theaters are probably going to be out of business. People might get at that point. We always talk about habits getting broken. A lot of people talked about that with pandemic, where if you were used to going to the movie every weekend or the big releases every week or whatever. Now that everyone is so used to just sitting at home and watching Netflix and Disney Plus and stuff, chances are they're not going to go back to the movies as much as they did. Now, I think there's always going to be a place for, movie theaters and theatrical releases, but I think it's going to be much smaller. You're probably not going to get these billion. We're never going to have another Endgame. We're in the freaking snap right now. I mean,
it's not. It doesn't behoove studios to release it on VOD because they can't hide the numbers or buy tickets and things. I could buy VOD downloads though. I don't know. To me, it just seems dumb. Why not release the films? Because the ones that are ready. I mean, obviously some are pushed back because they're not ready. Yeah. Why not release ones that were going to be ready anyway into alternative methods? Because the theaters might not be there anyway. So what difference does it make?
Yeah, now it looks like since yesterday, it looks like some of the stocks are coming back.
That's good.
Now, because a lot of these theaters are saying, I think people were worried that they're all going to shut down because Regal said they were shutting down.
Regal.
Yeah, just Regal so far. But the problem is that AMC is running out of money. And this has been talked about before, that they're expected to run out of liquidity within 6 months. They have like 80% of their theaters open. But again, they're it's reruns. It's older movies. Now it is cool to be able to see a lot of these, frankly, better movies.
I honestly, if they're doing Hocus Pocus, I'm half tempted to go. I'm not gonna lie.
We should go see Hocus Pocus.
We should go see Hocus Pocus in the theater. I would totally do that.
I've never seen it in the theater.
Here's the thing: if you're a person who wants the theaters to stay in business, and you have theaters that are running old movies, you might want to go to the theater to try to help them stay in business.
Yeah.
Your money where your mouth is, kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't think theaters are going to disappear completely. I just think that they're going to be more of a niche thing. It's not going to be, I don't think it's going to be the event that it was before. Unless people are so tired of being cooped up that they're just like, I'm going to the movie just because I can.
For me, I'm not really, I mean, if I couldn't go to the movie theater again, I don't think I'd care that much. I prefer to watch things at home. That's me because I'm like really, you wouldn't know it from the show, but I'm a very shy person. I just don't like it. I'd rather be at home where I'm comfy and I can take potty breaks and go eat what I want and not have to worry about somebody talking behind me about, is that the dog? Did you see the dog?
Oh my God.
That actually happened once.
Yeah.
So for me, I prefer watching them video on demand at home, but a lot of people don't, and that's okay. And if you like the theater experience, then I would really recommend that the theaters that are open, you need to get out there and start going to those movies. Do so at your own risk, obviously. If you feel there's no risk, then by all means do it. But something has to be done because they're not going to hold on if people don't start supporting them.
Yeah, but this is going to be a very, and I know we've said it many times, we sound like broken records, but this is going to be a very rude awakening for Hollywood because they thought the money was never going to.
Hollywood needs some rude awakening.
They do.
They are too up their own asses and too arrogant and self-important. They need whatever hits they get. And that sounds mean of me, and I don't care.
And what's going to happen, because here's the thing. It's like, this thing's going on. We're seeing, these companies lose money. We're seeing all these studios laying massive amounts of people off. And what do? Like companies like Disney, what do? They turn around and announce some new like woke initiative, and I'm like, you need to bring as many people to the theater as possible. You can't afford to be politically divisive at this point.
No.
You can do that later when there's lots of money and you have the luxury of having lots of money for decades, but that's not going to happen now. Now you're going to have to like beg people.
Yeah, that's a good point. And it doesn't matter. I'm not talking just movies, it's just in general. Hollywood industries that are failing, now is not the time. I think that they have to do that because it's an election year. But right now, maybe you need to try to appeal to as many people as possible and not try to, be divisive. That's a good point. That's a very good point.
Stay in business. You need to try to stay alive, stay in business, and I think that is what's going to blow them up. Like, I think if they were smart and they streamlined and they started focusing on just telling good stories for everyone, and then there would be extra money if they want to go do vanity projects or whatever. But we know how this is going to go. And they're going to blow themselves up and be like, now's the time to change everything.
It blows my mind how out of touch these people are and how really up their own asses they are. And it just, it always blows my mind.
Well, this is it. And this might be the rude awakening because we're seeing a lot of Hollywood people like resorting to slumming it on YouTube. They want to go start
mixed results.
To mixed results. You know, Brie Larson. They want to go to YouTube now because they're like, oh golly, maybe Hollywood's not going to be in the same place it was 2 years ago.
Well, I think part of her thing was just trying to, fix her image too, which no matter what they try to say, it did take a hit with some of the comments that were made and some things that went down.
Yeah. But suppose as of today, AMC and Cinemark aren't closing theaters. They are, rerunning some good movies. Again, like Hocus Pocus, saw Akira's in theaters again, Empire Strikes Back. So, I mean, if you want to get out and go to the theater, you want to support theaters at least, they're picking some good movies.
Right, and a lot of theaters are doing everything they can. If you're worried about, I think going to Walmart would be just as dangerous as going to the movie theater.
I would say,
in my opinion, obviously I'm not a doctor.
I would say just, personal feeling. It's just, at least the theater here, like the local theater here, the seats are actually spaced out. They have those new recliners and stuff, and you can space yourself out. But go to Walmart and it's just like a friggin' freak.
Well, I was like, I mean, it's got to be better than Disney.
Oh my God, yeah, Disney was packed. And they're going to keep packing them in. It's so funny because everybody's concerned, like Hollywood's all concerned about social distancing, but then we have Walt Disney World, owned by Disney, their only source of revenue at this point, and they're packing them in as much as they can.
Oh, they didn't raise capacity. No, they didn't tell you if they raised capacity. They have permission from the state to raise capacity. They aren't going to. Where do you think all those additional park pass availability came from? I'm telling you, they're raising capacity. I saw the amount of people there.
Yeah, we were there. We actually backed out of.
And that was before it got worse.
And we're seeing pictures out there, and I know all the travel agents are out there trying to spin
it's
it.
Fine.
It's fine. You're right. Book a trip.
We watched them spray down a vehicle. Well, I'm telling you, we were there, and we watched for that. We were specifically watching every attraction we were on to see what they did. And they didn't do any of that when we were there. I think because people are calling them out, they might be trying harder, or because they're letting more people in, they have to do what they can do because they don't want any illnesses tied back. But it's done in such a way that there's no way you're going to be able to link it to them legally anyway.
No.
So they'll have that, there's nothing linked to us, because they make sure you can't. It's just, I'm not saying that there are, but it's just, I'm telling you, it was insane.
Kind of a two-faced thing, though, right? Isn't it? It's kind of like let's talk about social distancing and all that, but let's jam pack as many people in our theme parks as we can because we're losing money in Hollywood. But yeah, they're calling for bailouts now. This was a couple days ago. COVID-19 bailout for movie theaters. Hollywood calls for government help. Should Hollywood really get a bailout to help them during the coronavirus?
Well, they have a lot of money anyway. Why can't they use their own money? I mean, not the theaters, but like these celebrities and these studios had a shit ton of money. Yeah. So this is coming from national interest. Just because the theaters are opening doesn't mean moviegoers feel safe about returning. Tenet only made $3.4 million last week. And, they keep pushing movies back, including Black Widow. They said, as a result, a coalition of prominent people and groups associated with the motion picture industry, including actors, directors, producers, and umbrella organizations of the motion picture and theatrical exhibition industries, have written a letter to the leaders of Congress asking for help. Okay, but here's the thing. These are the same people who were giving money to social groups and making big shows of it. They had the money for that, but now the government has to bail their industry out because...
I'm not trying to be a dick, but here's the thing. And this is kind of the same, I kind of feel the same way about, the travel industry to some extent, where I know there are a lot of people who work in these industries whose livelihoods depend on it, but it's also like, these are kind of like luxury items, Hollywood is a luxury item. Travel is a luxury item. And I guess my feeling is if you have to give money to certain industries to make sure that they don't, collapse, you might be better off giving that money to kind of the backbone.
Well, here's what gets better. Keep that thought in mind with the next paragraph. Cinemas are an essential industry that represent the best that American talent and creativity have to offer. I would argue with that. Many times over.
No.
But now we fear for their future.
Our future. We fear for our...
We're not getting... We don't have the reach and the money now to control all of you, and we're pissed about it. The letter states, per the Hollywood Reporter, our country cannot afford to lose the social, economic, and cultural value that theaters provide. You mean after you guys have had this big push, to basically push out anybody that doesn't meet certain demographics, and now you'd be doing those films and pushing certain ideas and ideologies and policies through, and now you can't? We can't afford to lose our voice, our opinions, and the gift of us. How many of these effing celebrities get paid the money they get? Meanwhile, teachers get paid shit. People that are out there bagging groceries and stuff get paid shit, and they're the ones in the front lines where these celebrities haul up in their house and be like, oh my God, watch my video about how upset I am I couldn't go to the store today.
So our country can't afford to lose the social, economic, and cultural value that theaters provide. The movie-going experience is central to American life.
No, it's not.
Not really. We had American life before movies, before talkies, believe it or not. Theaters are great unifiers where our nation's most talented storytellers showcase their cinematic accomplishments. And like
oh my God, this is a big... Okay, go ahead.
It's Hollywood circle jerk. This is Hollywood. God.
We don't have our worshipers in the theater kissing our ass and making sure we get paid millions of dollars to pretend to be somebody we're not. Oh my God. They actually consider themselves an essential industry.
Yeah.
And because they need a platform for everybody to come see them go do their thing. And it provides their opinions and their agendas into their social, economic, and cultural values.
I love movies. I love TV. I love comic books. I love anime. Mm-hmm. Okay. I love video games. None of those things are essential. I completely admit that. And people working in those industries, you got to realize, when the chips are down, people are focused on getting food, having a house, making sure, there's health care. Those are essentials. Frankly, we could get rid of all entertainment. And it sucks because, we love entertainment, we love pop culture, but those are a result of people having free time and having, their needs taken care of elsewhere.
I'm sorry, I'm reading the list of people who signed the letters.
Ryan Johnson.
Yeah, is on there.
I was surprised, Jordan Peele, Scorsese, Shyamalan, Barbara Broccoli, got Clint Eastwood, Wes Anderson.
Michael Bay and James Cameron.
Michael Bay. But yeah, this is called, Hollywood. Again, this is Hollywood overestimates its importance because here's the thing. Streaming is up, but also, people are doing other things. They're going back to watching older movies that frankly are better than a lot of the stuff being produced today. And they're like, yeah, we can still have these stories. Just because the story's old doesn't mean it's bad.
They're watching YouTube. They're watching YouTube. Streaming services. They don't need the movie theaters anymore.
Spending time with family. That's one thing that has increased. I know we had some people in the comments that were like, well, I hate my family. And I'm sorry, if that's the case. But I have seen more people, again, Squid King and I, we almost every night go for a walk around the neighborhood. And there are lots of people having backyard family cookouts and stuff.
More than we've seen.
Not since the 1950s.
I would say 90s. But
yeah, but still, because we're not glued to, because there's nothing new to watch, and people are locked in together, not out and about. They're actually spending time with their families.
I still love to showcase cinematic accomplishments because in the great scheme of things in the world going on today, cinematic accomplishments matter so much more than educational ones, medical ones. The first responders, they got nothing on the people needing to see Hollywood have their award shows where they kiss each other's asses and dress in these ridiculously expensive dresses and wear the jewelry and make it all about themselves. The narcissists can't stand that it's not about them.
For all their talk about being for the people and socialism, whatever, these are the most elite of the elite.
Well, they have the money.
Flaunting it.
Why can't they've been getting paid all this money? Why can't they bill out the theaters? What the taxpayers need to? Why can't they? If they're so concerned about losing these important industries and the social, economic, and cultural value, then why are they not themselves giving money to bail these industries out?
That is true.
Why is Hollywood holding movies back and changing dates?
We know damn well James Cameron has it. Now, what's interesting, though, is the people who... I'm looking at the list, but I'm also who didn't sign the list? Steven Spielberg?
Well, they said there's other ones, but you think they'd mention them.
Spielberg would have been mentioned. He doesn't seem to be on the list. George Lucas. There are a lot of creators who probably... Maybe they do realize, maybe because they came from blue collar and they realize, where movies really are in the pecking order. We're not owed a living in Hollywood.
Well, I do think it's interesting they point out something at the bottom. one thing is notable about the letter. The position the industry has taken is to campaign for the government to help out movie theaters and not to attempt to persuade moviegoers to support theaters by returning to them. They aren't releasing the films. They're instead holding them back so they make more money later. Your taxpayer money can go pay them to hold on, and then they can gouge you to go to the theater when they're out so you can bask in their glory and pay them a bunch of money.
Yeah.
They lose nothing, but the taxpayers have to bail them out.
Let's not let capitalism do its thing and be like, hey, maybe there's a better way. Now would be a perfect time. You know what? The theaters are holding out. Now would be a perfect time for indie creators and indie filmmakers to start producing maybe lower budget movies.
Well, that's what they're doing in other countries.
Yeah.
Because other countries that was taking such a huge hit with the American film industry pulling back from their countries and releases because they don't want to release things overseas unless they can release it over here within a short time after, because it'll get leaked, it'll get pirated, they'll be selling up the high seas, et cetera, et cetera. And they don't want to lose the money. So other industries have been putting out their own movies, and they're getting a whole bunch of money for these movies because there's nothing else to watch. So these independents are making a ton of money.
Yeah, that would be the thing, because look, these people don't need to make $1 billion. Just be like, oh my God, they don't have anything new in the theater. I will give them my $100,000 movie. Run that in the theaters. You can I don't care how much money I make off it. I just like. Well,
I'm sure they're going to block that here. Like that's working in other countries. They're actually calling for themselves to make their own films and not rely on America. But in America, they're going to demand the moon, and then anybody else is going to try to put their movies in the theater. They're probably going to try to block that.
You know what would be like the coup? Because I know the problem is YouTube. They hate YouTube because people are watching more YouTube now than they are their shit. You know, put together like a YouTube short film festival, the best of YouTube, and put it in a theater and
something
see
like
what
that.
happens.
But then what's going to happen is they're not actually themselves helping the theaters. They're not releasing movies earlier because they don't want to lose anything. They're trying to get the government to pay them.
Yeah.
To hold on until they can make more money later. But they're going to definitely, if they try to do an end run around Hollywood to save themselves, they're going to do what they can to stop it.
Yeah, it's trust fund babies.
Because it's not about that. It's about them glorifying themselves.
Yeah, it's like, oh, hey, mom and dad, just keep paying my way until I graduate college and maybe find a job when I'm 28 years old.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it's like. But the taxpayers are going to have to bail them out too. Now they wanted this for like Disney and stuff was asking for bailouts too. And the thing is, like, they wanted to gouge everybody, make it so you couldn't afford it, nickel and dime the hell out of you for the honor of being, going to their park. But then when there was handouts to be had, they're the ones with their handout, like, oh, help us. Well, you didn't help people that work for you. There's going around now that they might take away the severance packages for anybody who was furloughed that went and got another job. Because they couldn't wait any longer. But Disney's like, well, if you get a job someplace else, your severance package ends. For a company we're about family and community and our people.
So Hollywood and studios like Disney, whatever, they basically want everybody else to put their lives on hold until they're ready to make their big comeback. Kind of like Diamond with comics. They're like, no, everybody just stop doing comics until we're ready for the comic book industry to resume. And what's going to happen is the smart creators are going to be like, no, I'm gonna do an end run around this whole situation, and if people want new content, I'm going to give it to them. That's what a smart person would do.
And if theaters are important to you, and I'm not talking Hollywood, I'm talking theaters, then by all means go to the theaters, because they even pointed out their position is to get money, to give them money from the government, not to tell people to go to theaters.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm telling you, if you want to keep theaters, you need to go to theaters, because if Hollywood gets this bailout, who do you think is going to get the money? The theaters?
No.
They don't have to use theaters. Theaters are they can go to VOD. They do not have to use theaters. It's not required.
Nope, that's what's going to happen. What will happen, because you watch, they're already going down this road. What will happen is they'll take all that money and then they'll go to VOD anyway.
Probably, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
If you like theaters, then get your butt out to the theaters. At your own risk, if you feel safe enough to do so. Some people don't, and that's fine. I'm not going to make this a political thing or it's real, it's not real, and do not message us about it. I really don't care if you think it's real or not. That's a personal thing. Do what you think you should do based on what you believe.
Yep. So we're going to wrap this one up.
Yep.
Okay, so please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. We're thankfully, so far, not affected by the shutdown. So Clownfish TV continues while Hollywood is shut down.
Calling out their bullshit. But they are essential people.
They're essential.
You need them more than you need your medicine and your groceries and education. They rank up there with all of those things.
Well, it just shows what they actually think about themselves.
But they get paid a shit ton more than most of the people in those other industries who are doing, the work.
God. Okay. talk to you guys later.
Bye.